The best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with an average voter. That's what Winston Churchill said. But today we live in an era of democracy. According to research, out of all the countries in the world, 115 countries have some sort of democracy system in their countries. But not only countries, a lot of organizations, including Toastmasters, practice democracy in their organization, even at the club level where we elect president and other leaders of our club. But the question that I want to ask today is if authoritative leadership is skutečný style of leadership in today's democratic world. By that I meant effective leadership style. And I would not give obvious example of authoritative leaders who are there just to get power. For example, Putin in Russia, or Erdogan in Turkey, or maybe Kaczynski in Poland, but I will not talk about that. Not today. But instead, I will give you an example of 3 leaders from history who used authoritative leadership to do something good. And they were in part of a democratic system. Government by the people, of the people, for the people are the great words said by Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln is considered to be one of the greatest presidents of the United States. And one of the reasons that he's considered that is because during his term, for the first time, they completely banned slavery. But also, during his term, there was civil war going on in the United States. Now, how did he manage to ban slavery? That's a great act, we all agree, that's why he's famous. But how did he do it is very interesting. Because towards the end of his term, he had a paper on his desk which said that the southern armies are willing to surrender and the war can be over in one day. And his army generals were telling him that we have the firepower, we have the power to actually decimate all the opposition and we can win this war. But he knew that if he would do that, he would never pass the law to ban slavery. So instead of telling the truth to the Congress and to his own party, he told them the only way we are going to win this war is if we ban slavery once and for all in these United States of America. And so, even though they were against it, they did it because they thought this will end the war. The law passed, lo and behold, a few months later, the Civil War was over, and in truth, it was not because of the law. They were already almost winning. But yet, when we look back at history, we don't remember the authoritative way or maybe even manipulative way that Lincoln used to get that law passed. What we remember is his greatest act was to ban slaves. But there is another leader, Winston Churchill. He became the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during the World War II. And his party at that moment, the head of that party and also his cabinet, were in secret negotiation with Nazi Germany to sign a peace agreement so that they don't have to fight anymore. And they were really hoping that they would reach an agreement and that the United Kingdom can pull out and doesn't have to defend France that they were doing at that moment. But Winston Churchill completely disagreed with this. And even though his own party and his own party leadership who were threatening to get him out, he still went to the parliament and gave that famous speech, "We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the hills, but we shall not surrender." That was the speech that really put United Kingdom for a fight for survival. That was the day it started. Now, if he had not done and they had signed an agreement, maybe history would have taken a different turn and we wouldn't be sitting here and doing what we are doing. But that's the second leader. He also used kind of authoritative way to get his own way, which is considered to be great when we look back at history. There is a third leader, not as famous as these two, but equally capable. That's this guy. Now this guy was elected president of a Toastmasters club here in Wroclaw last year. And he had this great vision. I will make this club the greatest club in the world. And to do that, he had an idea. Every month we are going to organize a special event. Something different than what we normally do. And he did it. 5 different events. Storytelling evening, Oxford debates, stand-up comedy. And people enjoyed it. But the way he did it, he used every tactic in the book to persuade members, push members to do it in the way he wanted. My way or highway. That was his strategy. The events were as he wanted them, but the people that had to work with him didn't like it. As you can imagine, people come to Toastmasters to develop themselves, not do things as someone else is telling them. So people that voted for him initially were not a big fan of him by the end of the term. Now, as I was doing this project, I had to fill a questionnaire. And at the end of that questionnaire, I got the result that I have authoritative leadership style. So I started to think back over my decisions and actions, not only in Toastmasters, but also professionally and personally. Now, authoritative leadership style has a place in the world of democracy, in the world that we live in. It is not against democracy, it can complement in some situations. When there is a big change or a big crisis happening, then it is the authoritative leadership style that gets things done, that gets things moving, just like how Lincoln did, just like how Churchill did. But sometimes when everything is running smoothly, it doesn't work so well like I did. So there is a difference. Now, authoritative leaders you can meet anywhere. You would probably meet them in your profession, you would probably meet them personally. The best way to deal with them is just to go to them and say, I don't agree with you. And if they're being still unreasonable, all you have to do is just impeach them. You're in democracy, you can kick out, you can even kick out the president of Toastmasters Club if you don't like him anymore. Everything is possible. But on a serious note, the best use of such people that you feel have this kind of tendency is to give them the tasks which require big change, which are in crisis. Because then these are the people that are not afraid to make those quick, decisive actions that are sometimes needed to get things done. In that way, they will be happy, you will be happy, and we will all live happily ever after.
Thank you, Zen.